Before the fame, before reality TV made her a household name, Brandi Passante was just a hard-working woman trying to make a life for herself and her family. Born in Harris County, Texas, Brandi grew up far from Hollywood lights and red carpets. Her story began in small towns, with simple dreams, stability, love, and a better future. From a young age, Brandi was known for her determination. She didn't come from wealth or fame, but she always had a strong will. Those who knew her back then say she had that spark, the kind of energy that could light up any room. But life wasn't easy. Brandi worked regular jobs, saved every dollar she could, and quietly built her future, one step at a time. And everything began to change when she met Jared Schultz, the man who would later become her business partner, co-star, and longtime companion. They met while working together at a carpet cleaning company, and their connection was instant. They shared the same drive. Both wanted more out of life. Soon, they started their own small thrift and storage business in California. And it was there that fate stepped in. A TV producer discovered their store and was drawn to their unique chemistry. Brandi's sharp honesty mixed with Jared's bold personality. The producer offered them a chance to appear on a new reality show called Storage Wars, a series that followed people bidding on abandoned storage units, hoping to find treasures inside. And Brandi didn't know it yet, but that show would change her life forever. When Storage Wars first aired in 2010, Brandi quickly became a fan favorite. Viewers loved her natural charm, quick wit, and confidence. She stood her ground in a male-dominated environment and always spoke her mind. Fans admired that she wasn't afraid to challenge anyone. Even Jared, when it came to business decisions or bidding battles, NBUT behind her strong TV image. Brandi was also a mother raising 2 children, balancing fame, business, and family life all at once. Off camera, she was still that down-to-earth Texas woman who valued time with her kids more than anything else. Yet fame brought more than just success. It also brought pressure, rumors, and a constant public spotlight. Suddenly, every move she made was photographed, every smile analyzed, every rumor exaggerated. Those private photos that show her away from the cameras, laughing with friends, relaxing at home, or spending time with her kids, reveal a very different Brandi. One who is calm, warm, and deeply protective of her private world. NHER's story isn't just about a reality TV star. It's about a woman who stayed true to herself even when the world was watching. Fame is a strange thing. It can give you everything you ever dreamed of, and at the same time, take away your peace. That's exactly what happened to Brandi Passante. And after Storage Wars became a hit, Brandi's life turned upside down. She and Jared became household names. Fans loved watching them argue, laugh, and make big bids. But while the show made them famous, it also brought constant pressure. The cameras never stopped rolling, and every mistake became public. In interviews, Brandi often said that fame wasn't something she ever wanted. She wanted success, yes, but not the loss of privacy that came with it. Suddenly, people she'd never met before were commenting on her looks, her clothes, even her relationship. Online rumors spread quickly, and gossip sites started publishing private photos of her, taken without permission. Some of them showed her relaxing with friends or simply out in public, but fans treated them like secrets, and Brandi tried to stay calm. She focused on her kids and her store, now and then, which she ran with Jared. But behind the smiles, things between them were beginning to change. Years of working together, raising kids, and living under the public eye started to take a toll. They began drifting apart, not suddenly but slowly, like 2 people walking in different directions without noticing it. And fans could sense something was wrong. Brandi and Jared still appeared together on Storage Wars, but their energy was different. The jokes were less natural. The smiles seemed forced. And then, after more than a decade together, they quietly went their separate ways. When the news broke that Brandi and Jared had split, fans were shocked. Many assumed their bond was unbreakable. But in an emotional interview, Brandi said something honest. "We were together for a long time, but sometimes people just grow apart. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It just happens." NTHAT's simple statement showed who she really was. Mature, calm, and strong enough to move on without anger. NBUT, even after the breakup, Brandi didn't stop. She appeared on later seasons of Storage Wars alone, standing on her own feet, bidding against experienced buyers, and showing that she didn't need anyone to succeed. Her confidence, her independence, that's what fans loved most. Still, life after the breakup wasn't easy. She had to rebuild her personal life while continuing to raise her children. And though she rarely shared personal details online, some of her photos, the ones where she's laughing with her kids, traveling, or simply being herself, showed a woman healing, rediscovering her happiness. Brandi once said she doesn't see herself as a celebrity. She sees herself as a mom who happens to be on TV. That honesty made people respect her even more. NSHE was no longer just the woman from Storage Wars. She had become a symbol of quiet strength, proof that even when life changes, you can rebuild yourself, piece by piece. After her breakup with Jared, Brandi Passante faced a completely new kind of life. For the first time in many years, she had to stand alone, not just in business, but also in her personal world. Many people thought she would disappear from the spotlight once Storage Wars changed, but Brandi surprised everyone. Behind her calm and confident smile, she was dealing with something much deeper. The end of a long relationship, the pressure of fame, and raising 2 children mostly on her own, it all built up silently. Brandi never liked to talk about her pain publicly, but her fans could see it in her eyes during interviews. She once said, "You learn who your real friends are when everything gets quiet." NTHAT one line said a lot about what she was going through. Fame had brought her so many people, but not all of them cared about her. Some only cared about her name. She realized that being famous didn't mean being happy. And at the same time, Brandi was determined to rebuild her strength. She started focusing more on herself, her health, her peace, and her children. She stopped chasing attention and began to enjoy her privacy again. She often shared photos where she looked relaxed, natural, and free. No expensive clothes, no heavy makeup, just herself. Fans loved those moments because they showed the real Brandi. In BUT, the internet can be cruel. Even as she tried to move forward, online trolls often targeted her. They commented on her looks, her age, and even her parenting. Some even spread false stories about her private life. Brandi admitted in one interview that those things hurt her, but she learned not to let them control her emotions. I stopped reading comments. I stopped explaining myself to people who don't know me. I realized my peace matters more. NTHAT was a turning point. Instead of hiding from the spotlight, Brandi decided to take control of her image. She became more active on social media, but this time, it was on her own terms. She posted what she wanted, when she wanted. Whether it was a funny moment with her friends, a simple selfie, or a quote about confidence, everything she shared reflected her real personality. And over time, fans began to see a new Brandi, not just a TV star, but a strong, independent woman who had faced loss, judgment, and pressure, yet still smiled through it all. Her confidence started inspiring others, especially women who had gone through similar heartbreaks. Many commented on her posts saying she gave them hope, showing that it's possible to rebuild life after love ends. NSHE also began to use her platform to talk about more personal things: the challenges of being a single mother, the difficulty of being judged online, and the importance of staying kind even when the world feels harsh. Her honesty made people admire her even more, and even though she rarely talks about her relationship with Jared now, she never speaks badly about him. That shows her class and maturity. She believes in moving forward, not in holding grudges. Behind all the fame and attention, Brandi remains deeply connected to her roots. She often talks about her kids being her biggest motivation. She has said that everything she does now, every business move, every public appearance, is to create a better future for them. When she looks at old photos from the Storage Wars days, she doesn't see just fame. She sees memories, moments that made her stronger. Brandi's private photos tell that same story. In some, she's smiling under the sunlight. In others, she looks calm and thoughtful. Each picture captures a woman who has lived through ups and downs, but still carries herself with grace. They show not just beauty, but resilience, peace, and quiet confidence. NBY. the time people started noticing this change, Brandi had already stepped into her new chapter. She was no longer living in the shadow of her past. She was leading her own story, one that wasn't about fame or TV ratings, but about peace, independence, and real happiness. Brandi Passante's story didn't end with heartbreak. It started again there. After years of being seen as one half of a TV couple, she finally became known for something else, herself. And once the cameras stopped following her everywhere, Brandi had time to breathe. She no longer had to perform for anyone. She began to focus on the things that truly mattered: her children, her friends, and her sense of peace. For years, her life had been about auctions, cameras, and business deals. Now, it was about healing and rediscovering who she really was. NSHE admitted that being away from constant filming felt strange at first. The noise, the long hours, and the energy of the show had become part of her routine. But slowly, she started enjoying the quiet. She started cooking more, traveling when she could, and spending long evenings with her kids, just talking, laughing, and being a mom again. NTHAT simplicity gave her a new kind of happiness. And fans who followed her on social media noticed how different she seemed. Her posts were no longer about show promotions or TV appearances. They were about real life, moments that anyone could relate to. Sometimes it was just a sunset photo with a calm quote. Other times it was a funny story about parenting or a night out with friends. Each post showed that she was living freely without needing anyone's approval. MBUT rebuilding herself wasn't easy. Brandi had to start from scratch in many ways. Running a business, managing finances, raising children, it all became her responsibility. There were hard days when she felt tired and unsure, but she never gave up. She learned to trust herself again, and when she returned to Storage Wars for a few later seasons, people saw a completely different woman. She was stronger, sharper, and more confident than ever. She made her own decisions, negotiated deals, and proved that she could stand tall without depending on anyone. It wasn't just a comeback, it was a statement. In interviews, Brandi often spoke about learning to love herself again. She said that after years of criticism and public pressure, she had forgotten how to appreciate her own worth. But with time, she realized that strength doesn't come from other people's approval. It comes from accepting yourself, with all your flaws and experiences. NHER private photos began to reflect that same confidence. Instead of being private moments taken without permission, they became expressions of her freedom. Whether she was relaxing on the beach, smiling with her kids, or just sitting quietly with a cup of coffee, each image captured her peace and maturity. Brandi also became a quiet source of inspiration for many women. She showed that you can go through loss, face criticism, and still come out stronger. She didn't create drama or chase attention. She earned respect by being genuine. Today, when people talk about Brandi Passante, they don't just remember the fiery, funny woman from Storage Wars. They remember someone who faced the hardest parts of fame and came out wiser. Someone who rebuilt her life with patience, not revenge. Someone who proved that real beauty is not in the photos that people take of you. It's in the strength you build when no one is watching. NSHE once shared a quote that perfectly describes her journey. Sometimes you lose yourself in the noise of the world, but if you stay quiet long enough, you'll hear your own voice again. That's what Brandi did. She listened to her own voice again. Now she's not just known for her career, but for her story. A story of transformation, peace, and power. Her journey reminds us that even when the world sees your private moments, you still have the right to define your own story. And that's what makes Brandi Passante's untold story so special. It's not about fame or scandal, but about finding light after darkness. Brandi Passante's life today looks very different from the one people saw on TV years ago. She's no longer surrounded by cameras, producers, and constant noise. Instead, her world is calm, warm, and real. She spends time with her children, takes care of her home, and works on things that make her truly happy. In BUT, even after all this time, people still remember her. Fans still search for her name, watch her old Storage Wars clips, and follow her journey online. That's because Brandi's story isn't just about treasure hunting or fame, it's about human strength. It's about how a woman can face public judgment, heartbreak, and loneliness, yet still rise with quiet dignity. When she looks back at her journey, Brandi often smiles at how far she has come. There were days when she doubted herself, days when she felt invisible, and nights when she stayed up worrying about her future. But each of those moments made her tougher. She learned to depend on herself. She learned that peace is something you have to build, one small step at a time. NHER private photos, the ones fans are most curious about, tell that entire story without words. In those pictures, you can see all sides of her. The young woman who chased a dream, the mother who worked hard to protect her kids, and the woman who found strength in silence. Each image carries a piece of her life, a chapter that the world didn't always understand. NSHE once said in a rare interview, and I've made mistakes, sure, but I've also learned who I am because of them. I wouldn't change my past, it made me who I am now. NTHAT quote shows how Brandi sees her life, not as a collection of problems, but as a journey of lessons. She accepts her past, owns her story, and moves forward with pride. Today, she continues to inspire quietly. She doesn't need headlines or gossip to stay relevant. Her strength, honesty, and grace speak for her. People admire her because she's real, not perfect, not polished, just real. Many women see her as a symbol of independence. They see how she handled fame without losing her kindness, how she faced heartbreak without revenge, and how she raised her children while keeping her dignity. She became proof that even in a world that watches your every move, you can still protect your peace. Brandi has also found balance, something she didn't have in the early days of fame. She knows when to step into the public eye and when to stay private. She chooses what parts of her life to share, and that control has given her confidence. NHER fans, too, have grown with her. They no longer see her just as a reality TV star. They see her as someone who's lived a real story of love, loss, and strength. Many of them say that Brandi taught them that it's okay to start over at any age, and it's okay to walk away from what doesn't make you happy anymore. When people talk about Brandi Passante's most private photos and untold story, they might expect secrets or drama, but what they really find is inspiration. They find a woman who refused to be defined by fame or failure, a woman who found beauty in simplicity, courage in pain, and peace in being herself. That's her real legacy. Not the fame, not the show, but the quiet power of rebuilding a life with grace. In a world where so many people chase attention, Brandi chose peace. And in doing so, she became unforgettable. When you look at Brandi Passante's life, it's not just the story of a TV star. It's the story of a woman who lived under pressure, faced heartbreak, and still found peace in her own way. NHER journey reminds us that fame is not always what it seems. Behind the lights, cameras, and smiling faces, there's a real person, one who laughs, cries, makes mistakes, and tries again. For years, people watched Brandi on Storage Wars and thought they knew everything about her. But her real story was happening quietly, behind the scenes, away from the spotlight. NTHO's private photos that fans are so curious about. They don't just show a celebrity's hidden life, they tell a deeper truth. In some, she's smiling, surrounded by her children, showing that she found happiness in being a mother. In others, she looks peaceful and alone, showing that solitude can also be strength. And in a few, she seems reflective, like someone who's walked through storms and learned to love the calm that comes after. And each of those images carries emotions: laughter, pain, pride, and courage. They're not just photos, they're lessons about life, captured in moments that the world rarely sees. Brandi's story teaches that you don't have to shout to be strong. You don't have to prove your worth to anyone. Sometimes, quiet strength is the loudest thing in the room. She showed that when life changes suddenly, when love ends, when people judge you, when your world turns upside down, you still have the power to rebuild. NSHE didn't let heartbreak destroy her. She used it to rediscover who she was. She didn't let criticism silence her. She turned it into confidence. And she didn't let fame control her. She learned how to walk away from it and live on her own terms. That's what makes her story so powerful. And Brandi once said she's happiest when she's with her kids, laughing and being herself. That small detail says more about her than any headline ever could. Because true success isn't about money or fame, it's about peace. It's about waking up each morning and feeling proud of who you've become. When you see her photos today, you don't just see beauty, you see strength, maturity, and peace. You see a woman who's been through everything and still chooses to smile. A woman who turned her pain into wisdom and her silence into power. And maybe that's the real untold story. Not the fame, not the drama, but the quiet transformation of a woman who found herself again after losing everything that once defined her. And so, when people search for Brandi Passante's most private photos, what they'll really discover is not secrets, but truth. The truth of a woman who lived, fell, stood up again, and kept moving forward. NHER story reminds us that every person, even those we see on TV, carries a private world inside them. A world full of memories, lessons, and emotions that cameras can never capture. That's why people still care. That's why her name still matters. Because in her story, we see a reflection of our own struggles and a reminder that no matter how hard life gets, peace is always possible. And so, if there's one lesson her journey leaves behind, it's this. You don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You just have to be real. And that's exactly what Brandi Passante is real. And in the end, Brandi Passante's story isn't about fame or fortune. It's about finding peace after the storm. She faced heartbreak, judgment, and pressure in front of millions, yet she never lost her kindness. She didn't let fame change her. She learned how to walk away from noise and live on her own terms. Today, her life is calm, her heart is strong, and her smile tells a story of survival. Brandi showed the world that true beauty isn't in what people see,